Boom. Good morning. It is DUI results today. How are you, Attorney Robert J. Schefter, Attorney at Law? How's the hand doing?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. I know we like to get right into it, so I don't want to stop anything. Let's get right into it. But can we at least please ask people to share? Because if your friends are going through something legally, they're probably not going to tell you. So please share this out so they can see what the modern day phone book is, which is your phone. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. So we have a great case today. I'm really excited about it. Couldn't resist the title we gave this show. Can't you smell that smell? The old Leonard Skinner song, that smell. Because we are revisiting once again the odor of marijuana when it comes to probable cause in a vehicle stop. So
great topic.
So just to back up a little bit, we've done a whole series on the fact that you have a right of privacy guaranteed by the United States Constitution and, of course, the Pennsylvania Constitution. That right of privacy does extend to your vehicle, but it's more limited in your vehicle because it's mobile. And a warrantless search, they can search your vehicle without a warrant if they have probable cause. And that's what this case deals with, probable cause relative to the odor of marijuana. Now, prior, we've done a show that says there's an appellate case that says police can search your originally total vehicle, including the trunk, if they allege they smell an odor of marijuana. Then more recently, the case came down that said that does not extend to the trunk. So we start to chip away at that all-encompassing rights that the police have to search your property. So that excludes the trunk. They have to have separate probable cause to search the trunk. So now we have another case that's phenomenal, but a couple disclaimers. Number one, this is a Lehigh County case, so it's county level, so it's not state law. It's not the law in York County, all right? But we're bringing it up because of its importance with this one judge has taken a phenomenal step in addressing the rights of the police to search your vehicle based on an odor of marijuana. And secondly, I did learn that the district attorney's office in Lehigh County has appealed that decision. So it's appealed to the Superior Court, which is good because if the Superior Court upholds it, then barring another appeal to the Supreme Court, it becomes law. But enough about the legal stuff. I want to get right in to the facts of it. It does deal with the medical marijuana card. Okay, so a vehicle stopped late at night. The first thing that's really interesting about this case that the judge in Lehigh County notes is that they pulled the people over. The first trooper, as he's walking up to the vehicle, says he smells an odor of burnt marijuana. The second trooper, as he walks up to the vehicle, says he could smell the odor of both burnt and raw marijuana through the open window of the vehicle. Burnt marijuana being smoked, raw marijuana just being present, raw before it's smoked. Here's what the judge said about that in a footnote. This court takes issue with the testimony of the trooper and finds it not to be credible. Indeed, it is only reasonable to conclude that one odor would trump the other odor and that the trooper was not able to detect both raw and burnt marijuana. Also, this court notes that the amount of raw marijuana located in the vehicle in a sealed Ziploc bag was less than a gram. It is unfathomable to this court that the trooper was able to detect the odor of both raw and burnt marijuana. This is a judge who's read the testimony of a trooper and said basically that trooper was not being truthful. She didn't say lie, but she said it's unfathomable to the judge that the trooper could smell both burnt and raw marijuana. And we've talked about that before. You know, I've had clients who said, there is no way that officer smelled marijuana on me or in my vehicle. I didn't have it. I didn't smoke it in there. And I say to them, you know, how do we disprove that? It's very difficult to disprove it. But here, where a trooper has said, I smell both, raw and burnt, the judge said, no way. So that's an interesting point. So then what happens is right after that, the passenger, this is not the driver, this is the passenger in the vehicle, says, well, okay, you smell the marijuana. I have a card. I have my medical marijuana card, so I'm allowed to possess and consume marijuana. So the next interesting point is that I think what one of the things we can conclude from this case is that the troopers have not been trained in what medical marijuana means, what you're allowed to possess, how you're allowed to package it, and how you're allowed to ingest it. Because the one trooper testified that medical marijuana, when ingested through a vaping pen, has no odor. And in fact, as we'll find out later in the case, it does have an odor. So if you smoke medical marijuana through a vaping pen, it does have an odor. This trooper thought it didn't have an odor. So when they smelled marijuana, they thought it was being consumed illegally because they could smell it. Okay, so they were wrong about that. The trooper acknowledged in court that she didn't know how medical marijuana was ingested, and she was under the misimpression that green leafy marijuana was illegal and not used for medical purposes. So again, the trooper not only doesn't know whether it produces an odor when consumed, but doesn't know what type of marijuana is legal for medicinal purposes. We know that green leafy marijuana is legal under medical marijuana, can be purchased through a dispensary if you're authorized to do so. This trooper didn't know that. Again, not pointing blame, but when it comes to going ahead then and using that odor or using that presence of a leafy marijuana to arrest someone who has a medical marijuana card, it is incumbent upon that trooper to know the law. I think that's fair. If you're going to arrest people for having marijuana, you need to know whether it's legal or not for that person.
That makes sense.
So, the next thing is, basically ignoring the fact that this gentleman has a medical marijuana card, the troopers then go ahead and still search the vehicle. And that's what they've been trained to do. Odor of marijuana, we're going to search the vehicle. So they do, and they find what they call shake. They find bits and pieces of raw marijuana on the floor. They find a little baggie of marijuana. And so then they arrest the person for the possession of marijuana. So of course it's challenged, and we come to a hearing. And what the defense did here that really helped the judge, I think, is they produced an expert witness, a physician. The gentleman's name, again, this is up in Lehigh County, not local, not York Adams County, but just for information, David Gordon. He's a retired heart and lung surgeon in Lehigh Valley, and he's an expert in the field of medicinal marijuana, and as noted in the judge's opinion, is one of the pioneer physicians in Pennsylvania to assess patients and determine if they have a qualifying condition. So he testified to a couple things, and this is for the information of our viewing audience. If a lot of you may know this, but it's good information. Dr. Gordon explained there's no distinguishable physical difference between green leafy medicinal or medical marijuana and the regular marijuana purchased on the streets. The chemical compositions are the same. Okay. He explained. Then he went on to explain how it is legal for a person with a card to ingest the marijuana. This is interesting. The green leafy marijuana is put in a battery-operated vaping pen and heats up the marijuana without combustion, producing a vapor. That vapor is inhaled legally. It is a violation under the Medicinal Marijuana Act to smoke medical marijuana without a vaping pen, such as putting it into a cigarette or a bowl or anything like that. So it is legal to ingest it through a vaping pen and other ways, but as far as smoking or ingesting the fumes, vaping is legal. But even if you have a card, it is not legal under the act to smoke it through traditional means with a lighter and a bowl. So he testified as to that. And then he verified that there's no difference in the odor, whether you smoke it through a bowl or through a vaping pen. So I don't know what your experience is as a viewing audience, but this physician testified it's basically going to smell the same or similar, such that, again, the point is if you're smoking it legally, it's going to have a smell. So an officer can't say, oh, well, it smells, and if it's legal, it doesn't smell, so we can arrest you. So there's no distinguishable difference there. And we're upwards of 150,000 people at the time this physician testified. medicinal cards in Pennsylvania. Probably more now, but just so you know, 150,000 people are out there legally ingesting the marijuana, but yet apparently still being arrested. And he finally testified that there is a clear disconnect between the medical community and the law enforcement community with respect to legalization of marijuana. Again, as I said earlier, there appears to be a lack of training on the part of our law enforcement officers as to what is legal and what's not under the medical marijuana laws. So here, that's kind of the introduction, getting into the meat of it. This judge in Lehigh County decided it is not probable cause to arrest someone when they are doing something that they are rightfully allowed to do. That's common sense, and that's what she says in her opinion. Okay, you're presented, you smell marijuana, you find marijuana. This gentleman produces a card that says, I'm allowed to have this, and I'm allowed to ingest it. So you can't use something legal as probable cause to arrest someone for something. So that is a huge chip away at this kind of umbrella of searches that police officers up until this point have been entitled to do. Again, disclaimer, this is not the law in York County. This is not the law across the state. This is a judge in Lehigh County, but it is very important because now it's appealed to the Superior Court. If the Superior Court upholds it, then it becomes the law of the state, unless and until it gets appealed to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. So it is still a huge and significant case because, again, judges are starting to realize that the rights of an individual are being unlawfully violated by police officers who just say, I don't care if you have this legally, it's still probable cause, I'm still going to take you in. And again, this is not a DUI case, so the law is still, says, basically, if you have any amount of THC, any amount of marijuana in your system, it's a DUI. And again, there's going to be a case that comes up that challenges this because people are allowed to have it. People are allowed to ingest it. We have to come up with a law that looks at levels of impairment, not just whether it's in your system. It is ridiculous that we have a DUI law on the books in Pennsylvania that says it is illegal to have any amount of marijuana in your system. It's illegal to have any amount of a metabolite of marijuana in your system, which clearly doesn't impair you. So the judge there was very forthright and said basically that the police officers and this mentality, such actions are means of hampering the legalization of marijuana for medical purposes. So she specifically says at the end of her opinion, what the officers are doing here is really a violation of rights. And so it's a very strong case. One more quote from this judge that I really like. She says, quote, "It is illogical, impractical, and unreasonable for the troopers to have concluded that there was criminal activity afoot when the defendant was able to present them with a valid medical marijuana card which permitted him to possess and ingest marijuana. This court is not willing to make such an irrational leap based on the written facts and circumstances and utilizing its common sense." I love when a judge says we're using common sense here, and what the troopers did was illogical, impractical, and unreasonable. She goes as far as to say the smell of marijuana is no longer per se indicative of a crime. With a valid license, an individual is permitted and expected to leave an odor of marijuana emanating from his or her person, clothes, hair, breath, and therefore his or her vehicle. So again, I'm just really excited about this case, Shane, because of the strong language, the use of common sense, and really calling out the troopers in this case for saying, oh, I smell burnt marijuana and raw marijuana at the same time, and then going ahead after someone says, here's my card, I'm legit, and still going ahead and violating the rights by conducting the search and charging the person. I love it. So we'll see what happens. But again, got to say again, we'll look for these types of cases and we'll raise the proper challenges in York, Adams County, surrounding counties. But you need to know this is not the law out there today in your county. But here's the deal: you get pulled over and you have your card, you present that right away. Say, look, I'm legal, right? The other issue that's addressed in here that I failed to mention is the packaging. They said that that the marijuana, if it's medical, it should be in a package that is marked as such, and theirs was not. It was in a baggie. That issue, the physician testified that in his experience, it's usually in a bottle, and then within that pill bottle, the green leafy marijuana is also stored in a baggie that typically does have a marking on it. So the lesson to be learned here is, if you have your card, have that with you, present it. If you have the marijuana, keep it in the packaging that it comes from the dispensary. And this has really sparked me to want to do future shows on this issue with someone who runs a dispensary. Get them in here because they're going to know more about this.
Here. Well, that would be great.
So I want to. We can reach out to that person, get them in here for
Let
more
people
education.
know the proper way to handle and do all the educating.
Yeah.
That's great.
And
let us know if you have questions. Message Attorney Robert J. Schefter, Attorney at Law. Go to DUIResults.com. Go to, you can call them right at the office at 717-747-9048. The Facebook page here. So you can go right to the Facebook page, DUIResults.com. Message. We love to hear your feedback. This is a no judgment zone. This is not legal advice. This is an entertainment show for your entertainment. And so we love your feedback.
Yes. And I do want to note, next week's going to be a big show. We announced it in the last few weeks, but next Wednesday we're bringing in a representative from Smart Start, which is one of the leading ignition interlock device companies in our state, and especially locally here in York County. Kathy Riley is an expert in this field. We're going to bring her in. She's going to bring in an actual interlock blow and go device and review that with us. So that's going to be phenomenal. I'm really looking forward to it.
So that's at 11 o'clock on the 21st. 11 o'clock next Wednesday. We're typically on Wednesdays with DUI results. So it'll be less than a week away. It's the 21st. It's Wednesday the 21st at 11 o'clock. Make sure you turn on notifications from DUIResults.com. You do not want to miss next week's show. And please make sure you share it out. Listen, there's people that are going through stuff. They're looking at their check and they're looking at their charges and they're trying to make everything work and have a good future.
That's right.
Right? And so it's important, and that's what I love about Attorney Robert J. Schefter. He values you. He values your situation. It's a no judgment zone.
Absolutely.
And you have some time. Like, you've been doing this for a little while.
Oh, yeah. Over 20 years. So.
Over 20 years.
Absolutely.
And local matters, right? Before we go, I want to touch on that.
Yeah, every
people
county.
think I'm going to bring in some great big New York attorney to come in here and rattle some cages.
No. You need a local attorney who knows the ins and outs of your jurisdiction. So I practice in York and Adams County. Been doing so for many years. So it's very important to have someone local. And be careful. They might have a satellite office in York, but we want to make sure they're based in York.
Yeah, so you're embedded in York County. This is and you do York and Adams.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
And you're right on Leaders Heights Road.
Yep.
They can always stop by the office.
Yes.
So it's easy.
Don't just stop by, but
call, make an appointment. Don't just stop by. So check them out, though. But look, don't be embarrassed about your situation. It's a no judgment zone. We're not here to judge. We're here to help you figure out how to find the right fit for you. And that's what our client with DUI Results. I did want to shout out to All Live Media for producing this. Thank you. And everyone on the All Live Media team. And thank you, everyone, with Attorney Robert J. Schefter. We appreciate them. And I hope you all appreciate this. We appreciate you letting your friends know that there are options out there and they just don't have to. And what's a too late of time before we go? If I got charged, how long would it be from when I maybe got a DUI and to get charges to where I could still consult you?
At any point. I mean, don't feel like it's too early or too late. It's never too late. It's never too early. So contact me at any time. If it just happened, I'll talk to you on the phone. Hopefully, give you some stress relief.
Can I fax you paperwork once we
fax it?
And then so you're not going to waste time. You'll be able to look at it. You'll be able to identify it with your experience and let people know what their options are.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you. Next Wednesday, man, huge show. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be here to help educate you. And so please turn on your notifications. Write it on your little calendar at 11 o'clock next Wednesday, the 21st. It's going to be DUI results. It's going to have a special guest, and the company is
Smart Start.
okay. So we're excited for that. Y'all have a beautiful day. Thank you for your time. We do value your time. We know it's important, and you're busy. God bless you. Share this to all your friends, all your groups, because someone out there is going through a tough time and they don't know there's relief, and there is today with Pennsylvania DUI attorney Robert J. Schefter, attorney at law. God bless you all. Have a safe weekend. Don't drink and drive.